Here we are, live. Dave, the IT guy. Hey, it's Wednesday night, 6 p.m. The only place you can possibly be for some of the best tech, security, hacker, whatever kind of info you need. Hey, my job is to take all this crazy tech babble BS, break it down into simple terms, and make sure that by the time you're done listening to me, you've taken some type of knowledge away with you that you can act upon, or that you can share that knowledge with someone else and act upon it. So tonight, we're going to be talking about antivirus and if you really need it. Now, I could just say yes or no, and the show would be over in a minute. But there's no fun in that, right? And besides, if I just tell you yes or no, you won't know why I told you yes or no. So we're going to take a few minutes together, probably 20 to 25, and we're going to talk about why. And if you have questions, you can certainly hit me up in our chat room. So if you want to jump on over to the website, dtig.net, or you can go over to Spreaker, spreaker.com/dtig, DTIG. You'll find the handy dandy chat bubble for the show. You can stream it live, of course, and you can ask questions that will come up in the chat window, and I'm happy to answer live and in person. Now, with all of that garbage out of the way, let's get into it a little bit. So let's talk about why antivirus was important at some point in the world, and now in 2017, what has changed? Why is it less important, or why is it more important than it used to be? So antivirus started because back in the days of Windows 95, right? For those of us that remember floppy disk and things like that, when Windows 95 came out, the real emergence of hackers really started to come out with it. And and back then hackers weren't these sophisticated groups from the government of different countries like Iran. By the way, quick shout out to Iran. I looked at my statistics. My podcast has been live for only a week, and 14% of my listeners are in Iran. I wonder why. Is it because I call them out for being a bunch of cowards? Maybe. Is it because I tell them that they're hackers even though they're pretty good at what they do? I'm better. Maybe. But big shout out for making my stats go up because you guys are checking me out. So thank you and keep tuning in, would you? Now, back to the topic at hand. So back in with Windows 95, hackers started taking notice that, hey, these Microsoft people are doing some pretty good stuff, and all these people around the world are downloading or buying computers and installing Windows. You know, back when a computer was like $3,000 or $4,000 a pop, right? So they thought, hey, if we can try to figure out how to break in, we might be able to steal some data, because if these people can afford a $3,000 or $4,000 computer, they probably got something I want as far as information, right? So they've got some stuff I want to steal. And again, back then, days of AOL and Prodigy and other dial-up internet services were out there and running. So detecting these hackers, the technology and the capability and the knowledge even on how to detect these people were few and far between. So, long story short, hackers decided, hey, let's go steal some data, let's do some stuff. But if we can't get in or do anything else, let's create some software that just makes it hard for everybody else to own a computer. And what I mean by that is they learned how to start creating viruses, right? They said, well, you're not going to use your computer because I can't get into it. So I'm going to create a virus that maybe wipes out your hard drive, or maybe it disables some feature, on your computer. So I'm going to do bad things because I'm jealous. So in came, a lot of different companies, Symantec, and a lot of McAfee, and a lot of early players back then. Now you have Avast and all these other ESET and man, McAfee and Symantec, and there's antivirus out there, Panda antivirus. So, just to give a few shout outs here and there. But so all these companies started getting into play and saying, hey, we can protect your computer. But what does that do for your computer? Well, back then, it would detect after the fact, right? So if a virus came out and somebody figured out that a virus existed, these companies would take a look at the virus, how it was created, and create a file that would help it recognize, okay, if I see this, that means a virus exists and you should erase it. So it was very reactive, meaning if a virus came out today and you were one of the first people to get the virus, your computer would not recognize it as a virus because that file had not yet been created to help your software recognize what it is, right? So we had to work on reactivity. So if you didn't know the types of websites that you were going to, or you were just clicking on files and weren't really sure, and even that's true today, probably even more so today. If you don't know what you're doing and you just click on things, you could open up a virus. Now, these days, we call those type of viruses that happen on the first day, we call them 0 day. Today's the day they first came out. So it's kind of like waiting in line overnight for those new iPhones, right? Today's 0 day. The iPhone just got out. I have to be the first one to own it. But what happens with all these people, the first ones that own it, right? Within the first couple of weeks, they find out, oh, they had this bug or this problem, and Apple or somebody has to push out an update. Well, viruses are the same. It's like the first day out, they're happy-go-lucky because they're out running all over the internet, and the antivirus companies can't detect them yet. So they can infect as many as they can because eventually somebody is going to detect us and be able to stop us. So, so they just had fun and did what they could do: steal data, wipe out computers, whatever. So fast forward to more modern times, like today, 2017. Now we're looking at software, antivirus software that can do what we call heuristic scanning or predictive scanning and other adaptive technologies, which basically means, okay, we don't know if you're a virus, but some of the things that you're doing kind of looks like a virus, so we're going to kind of stop you and hold you off to the side. We're going to kind of detain you, or what we call quarantine or sandboxing, right? So we're going to detain you until we can figure out who you are and what you're doing, and either delete you from our system or we'll let you go and let you do your thing. So many antivirus companies can do that. Well, so along with all these antivirus companies getting stronger and smarter with how they can detect this stuff, the people developing that bad stuff also got smarter and more capable as well, right? So they started looking at like, hey, if they can detect us because we do this, then we should make our software do that so it doesn't look like what it really is. We want it to look like something else so that the antivirus software will ignore us, right? So they got smarter. So, and one of the great examples, one of the more modern examples of that type of technology are the crypto type of malware or the ransomware. Now ransomware can be embedded into the code of a website. So you might go to a website and you might not click anything at all. You might just be reading it, but your internet browser will go through that website and show you all the pretty pictures and all the text. Well, the way that the browser shows all that to you is it's basically reading code or a program in the background so that it can take the programming and translate it into nice, pretty pictures in your browser. Well, by reading that code and processing it, now this crypto or this malware, this ransomware, can get installed and activated on your system, and your antivirus might not even catch it because to your antivirus it looks like a valid website, right? So even though a lot of the more modern antivirus software can take a look at the websites that you're viewing, and make sure that it's safe. It's not foolproof, and that's not a knock on these antivirus companies. It's really just a credit to these hackers and these folks that write this bad software, at how adaptable and how smart they've become. So we've got antivirus software installed on our computer, and we can still get infected, right? Because we clicked on something we shouldn't have clicked on, or we went to a website we shouldn't have went to, or my buddy sent me a picture of the monkey baby serving up Diet Mountain Dew. No, that's not a free blog shot at those people for paying me. I just think the what is it, the puppy monkey baby commercial is so stupid it makes me laugh. So hats off to Mountain Dew. Anyway, back where I started. So these software now are so, man, they're so smart, right? On both sides of the equation, everybody's trying to figure out how to outsmart the other guy, right? So I might be able to give you a picture that I send you of my favorite bird, but hidden in that picture, so what looks like an image is actually software doing some bad things behind the scenes. So there's so many ways for your computer to get a virus that you really have to be educated, and you really have to be diligent on what you are doing. And if you're not, the chances are it's not if you're going to be infected. It's when are you going to get infected, and by what are you going to get infected by. And that's just kind of God's honest truth right there, or Allah's honest truth for those of you in Iran that's listening to me. Um, anyway, so do you need antivirus? Well, so now that we're what 12 minutes into this, I'm going to tell you, yes, you do. But I'm also going to tell you, if antivirus is the only thing you're doing to protect your computer, you might as well uninstall the antivirus too, because it by itself is not going to do a damn thing to keep you from getting infected or encrypted or destroyed or whatever else might happen to you. So you really need to take what is called a multi-layered approach, and we'll talk a little bit about each layer and what those layers are. But from a big picture view, multi-layer is exactly what it sounds like, right? It's like a layered cake. I'm going to give you some chocolate, some vanilla, a little bit of layer of strawberry, some cake, a little bit of extra icing, and by the time we're done, we got a pretty good tasting cake. Well, internet and computer security, whether you're at home, whether you're at a small business, or whether you're at a large enterprise, all means the exact same thing. Now, we're going to touch on some software and some things that you can do that have different costs, right? A big corporation that's billions of dollars probably needs to spend a little bit more money than Dave does at his house, right? So, different story based on where you're at and what kind of data you're trying to protect. There's certainly a lot of good free opportunities out there and offers out there for you to protect yourself with no investment. And then, of course, you kind of get what you pay for, as much as I hate to say it. So no knock again on these free antivirus companies and other free services, but by and large, you get what you pay for, and there are some exceptions to those rules. And within the next few minutes, we're going to talk about those exceptions especially. There are definitely some great free opportunities out there for you to stay safe. So let's talk about the layers of internet security. So you have what we call perimeter, right? So that would be an example would be like, so your house right at the edge of your yard on the street, right? That's your house perimeter. So you want protection there. You would like to have an armed guard at the street line, right? And then you would have a second level armed guard on your front porch, right? And then you would have another armed guard right inside the door. And then you'd have an armed guard right at the edge of your beds, right? So that's the different levels of your security if you were at home, right? But then you would augment. So that's just physical armed security. Well, what if somebody like a ninja came in and took out your four people, right? Your street guy, your front door guy, your inside the house guy, and your bed guy, right? Or girl. So some ninja just got past all of that. Well, how are you going to protect yourself? Well, hopefully you had a couple cameras up, right? So if you put some cameras up around your house, maybe your cameras could see that this ninja was getting it down and going off and taking your people out, right? So, but what if your ninja knew you had cameras and he disabled those too? Well, maybe you got some motion sensors, and those motion sensors would start beeping alarms or something to let you know, hey, something's moving in a place I don't expect it to be moving. So you're getting the point, right? So I'm using the analogy of some home defense to kind of hopefully help you understand about your house and your security defense, how that kind of can have the same mentality. So for computers, we want perimeter defense. We want, hey, right at the edge, protect me from the things I don't know about. Hopefully, you can stop me from going to a website I shouldn't be going to, or maybe I don't know I shouldn't be going to, right? So that's perimeter defense. And then you have if you're in a bigger company or a small company, you would have a network layer defense. And most private homes don't have that layer of defense. But that would be something more like a pretty expensive firewall or another physical device that acts as a software and physical barrier to accessing your network without the proper access logins or credentials. And then the next step would be more of a antivirus. So when it comes to perimeter or computer security, antivirus should be the third thing that you have. And then the fourth thing would be something that helps you after the fact. Okay, something got through my first three levels, but I still need to clean myself up. And that's where you come into a tool like a CC cleaner or something like that, whose job is, okay, I got infected. Let me go in and fix myself. Another one of the more popular tools in that space is called MBAM, malware bytes, right? So you can download that free tool, which is CC Cleaner is probably number 2 in my book. MBAM Malware Bytes is number 1 by far. If you already got infected by malware or something's wrong with your computer, it's really slow maybe, download a free copy of Malware Bytes. Let it scan your computer. Let it do a deep scan. And that might take a few hours to kind of really get in there and check everything out. But the chances of finding all the bad stuff that's really slowing you down is pretty high. I would bet that if you've never used a tool like that before and you ran it on your computer, you would have a noticeably faster computer right after the tool finished running and you're rebooted. So that would be the last level. So an MBAM type of tool. Going back to the antivirus, so a lot of free antivirus services are out there. Avast and AVG are probably the two most well known, although they offer paid service too. Usually the difference between their free antivirus and their paid is that the free is just antivirus only. It's a basic protection. Hey, we're going to protect you against the things we know about, the viruses that are already known in the world from maybe as far back as yesterday and beyond, right? So we can protect you pretty well, but we're not foolproof. And then something like a paid software, whether it be AVG, Avast, Symantec, McAfee, some people might know some of these companies as Norton Antivirus, which is merged with others. ESET, ESET is a good one especially for corporate use, but also at home. Panda, a company called Panda makes a pretty dang good free tool as well, but they're a little bit lesser known. But almost all of the companies that offer a free tool also offer a paid version that's a little bit more robust. And a lot of times for the home level users, the paid version includes a firewall, which is like a level 2 kind of deal when we talked about, the perimeter based stuff. So the next step up from your antivirus would be a firewall. And most Windows based computers have a firewall that comes with Windows, right? But a lot of people turn it off because they don't really understand what it does. And I can tell you that even if you have your Windows firewall turned on, having a second firewall is not a bad thing. When you start troubleshooting stuff, if something's really not working, having two firewalls does kind of make it funky to troubleshoot because you're like, well, I opened this port or I turned off my firewall and it's still not working. And then about an hour later, you're like, oh man, I forgot to turn off the other firewall. And then now stuff starts working, right? So, from a troubleshooting perspective, if you're not highly technical, it could cause you some troubleshooting problems. But you kind of have to think about it. Is the troubleshooting, if you have a problem, worth it? Versus I don't have it at all and I just got hit with a big malware that's going to cost me $200 to pay a hacker to decrypt it, or I lost all my data because I forgot to back it up, right? So you got a couple choices to make. So antivirus. Yes, you need it. It's kind of the level 3 of a 4 level defense. And some folks will tell you there are 5 to 7 levels of computer defense. And there are. It really depends. We're talking about wireless and DNS and things like that. And some things that we'll talk about here in a few minutes that are really highly technical. And again, for a home user, probably don't matter. But something that we'll talk about just to make sure you understand what it means, right? So, so antivirus, paid versions, free versions. You're certainly going to get what you pay for. If you pay zero for it, you're going to kind of get a basic level of protection. You don't have to pay crazy money, right? You can pay anywhere from 15 to 30 bucks a year and get pretty good service out of it. You can pay $50 to $70 and get better than pretty good service, but nothing's going to be perfect, right? So just keep that in mind. So let's move up real quick. Let's talk about firewalls. So um, firewalls and VPNs. I should throw virtual private networks into that same category. And if you go back and check my other podcasts, you'll see that the first podcast I did in this series was all about VPNs and virtual private networkings. So if you're not familiar with how they work, jump on over and check that one out. But firewalls and VPNs, their job isn't to stop the software. Their job is to stop the initial penetration, right? So a firewall's job would be at a house, it would be like the locks on the door, right? It may not stop somebody, but it kind of slows them down a little bit and it gives you time to react, right? So a firewall in a computer world will, if it's properly configured, should slow down people from hacking in right on into your system, right? And if they're not a very good hacker, it probably will stop them. But if they're a very good hacker, it'll at least slow them down. That with proper alerting, if you have email alerts that come out that if something happens, shoot me an email or shoot me a text message, right? So you can be alerted, hey, somebody's trying to do something bad to me. You should check this out. So it gives you time to be alerted, react, and do something to try to stop it. So that's basically what a firewall does. VPN doesn't quite do that. A VPN's job is to kind of encrypt your data, your traffic, so that when you're surfing the web, if somebody is just trying to capture your data as it moves across the internet and capture that and compile it in some way by encrypting it, it makes that virtually impossible to do. So you certainly want to check out VPN and what that's all about. But let's get out to the far perimeter. So your first level defense, that's right out there on the edge of the internet. That's where you are the most vulnerable, right? So if you go to Google and you search something, you might see what you're looking for, but if you don't know how to decipher what a URL is, somebody might create a fake website, right, that looks like exactly what you were looking for, but when you click on the link, it takes you someplace that still looks pretty good, but then it starts doing some stuff in the background. Remember, we talked a few minutes ago about how your web browser can process commands, and even though it looks like you're just reading a web page or looking at some pictures, in the background your computer might be doing some bad things. So perimeter defense can help stop that or slow that down completely. Just kind of depends on what the attack is. But perimeter defense also does more. It can be a collective. So one of the free services that is absolutely outstanding is called OpenDNS. Now, those guys used to be their own thing, right? They were a company that offered some free services, some paid service. They were in the open source world. They did some great things. And Cisco, who is the number one networking company in the world right now bought them and said, okay, you guys do some pretty cool stuff, but so do we. So when we buy you and we start throwing some money at you and bringing in your technology you developed and add it to the stuff that we do, we're going to be pretty kick-ass, right? So let's bring you in and let's buy you up and let's do some stuff. Well, normally when a company does that, you can say bye-bye to the free, right? Or if there is still something free, generally you're going to look at that and say, well, it used to be great, but now I got to pay for it. Well, OpenDNS, to Cisco's credit, is still free. And that's whether you are a home or a business, but especially if you're something like a school, a church, something like that, you absolutely, it's just opendns.com. So OPEN, David November Sierra, opendns.com. Absolutely, go check them out. Go sign up for their free service today. If you've never figured it out, there is some great help available on their site that will walk you through, okay, I just signed up for you, now what the hell do I do with you? You can apply the DNS service to your Xbox and your PlayStations and to your cell phones and to your laptops, and so you don't have to be just at home. You can be anywhere in the world, and this software, or this not software, but this service will help protect you. So basically what's happening is you're going to sign up for their service. You're going to make a couple changes to your devices, real simple stuff, nothing that really would, even if you don't know what you're doing, probably shouldn't take more than 10 or 15 minutes to do. So you're going to set all that stuff up, and then you're going to just start using the internet. And what will happen is DNS is what we call domain name systems, right? So what DNS does is if you go open up software like Chrome or Internet Explorer and you type in google.com, well, computers don't talk to each other by name. They don't say, hey, google.com, there you are. They translate the name to a number. And that's how computers know each other, by numbers. So DNS is the technology that says, okay, I'm going to take that name, google.com, and somewhere in the world that name was assigned a very specific number, just like a fingerprint. One number can only apply to one thing. So if I go to google.com, it can only translate to one very specific number. So it's going, that's a very simplistic definition of that. You can have things called round robin and cluster and blah, blah, blah. That changes what I said. But for the base conversation right now, it's one-to-one. One name, one number. That's all we need to care about. The rest of it, honestly, just doesn't matter. So you get there to OpenDNS, you sign up, you apply it to your Wi-Fi router, you apply it to your Xbox, your whatever gaming consoles that you have, you apply it to all your cell phones in the house, all your laptops, all your tablets, even, and this is the most critical thing that everybody forgets, if you have a smart TV in your house, that is the number one most hackable item right now, hands down. If a hacker scans your network and finds that LG or Vizio or some other kind of name that comes up, they're going to know that's a smart TV. Chances are your smart TV has a camera, or it has all these other apps like Hulu and Netflix and all these other things that they can hack into and take control of, right? Start sending spam messages from your TV, or start sending viruses from your TV to the rest of the world, and you're just sitting there watching Netflix and don't even know it, right? So a lot of everybody, I can't tell you how many times I've heard of smart TVs being compromised in the last just 3 months alone, much less the last year. So apply the settings to your TV, and those help files, when you get out there to opendns.com, even talk about like different TVs and how to do that. So go sign up. It's absolutely the best, number one. So what they're doing is they're at your perimeter, right? They're saying, okay, you're on the internet and you just typed in whatever, google.com, but then you click this link in the search engine. before that link is even showed to you, it's going to pre-inspect that entire website and make sure that it's truly what it says it is and that it's safe. Now you would think, oh man, dude, I'm not waiting all that time. That's too slow, Dave, the IT guy. It's too slow. Honestly, your naked eye won't be able to tell the difference. It is really milliseconds, the difference from the time that the web page would have normally loaded anyway, because some websites are just slow. So, I mean, OpenDNS isn't going to make anything slower that your naked eye would notice. And I would challenge anyone to tell me differently. Now, of course, it is a software. So yes, OpenDNS on occasion might be having a problem. They have to reboot their servers. So yes, one time in 2 million, you might be slower than usual. So I get that. But by and large, I challenge pretty much anybody to tell me that they can tell the difference. Now, OpenDNS does have a service, $19.95 a year, that gives you couple things. So if you really want to full on get down into lockdown mode, you can for that $20 a year, it'll save all of your stats. So you can start looking at a pattern like, okay, hey, every Tuesday night at 2 a.m. my internet usage goes up, but I'm in bed. Well, you might find out that your 9-year-old is waking up in the middle of the night and checking out cartoons on his tablet, right, or on his laptop or something. So you might, it's a good tool to kind of look at historical data. It also has what's called a whitelist capability. So if you really want to put stuff on lockdown, part of the OpenDNS that we have not talked about is things like family filtering. So, and that's part of the free service. So you can go in and it'll filter. So, you don't want little Johnny who's 10 to see some things on the internet he shouldn't be seeing. But even not just about porn and that kind of stuff. Maybe you're just not comfortable with the type of television that's going on. Maybe there's even certain cartoons and the way they are that you just don't like that either for your child. Hey, that's your decision to make, right? So you can go in and do what we call some whitelisting. So you can basically say, okay, I want everything from the internet off, but I'm going to whitelist these websites, and anything that's in the whitelist, my child can go visit, right? So you're basically turning the internet off except for the stuff you want on, and there's no way for little Johnny to go past it, right? So even if he takes his computer or his tablet to his friend's house for a sleepover, and his friend's house doesn't have this kind of security, as soon as he connects to their wireless, it's still going through your OpenDNS account. So it's still got him on lockdown. So he might still be looking at his friend and saying, well, I don't know why I can't see that website and you can, but can we just look at your computer, right? So he's still probably going to see what it is he wants to see, but at least it's not in your house, and you're going to make it a little bit harder, right? But when he's in your house and under your roof, you've got control. So the whitelist option only comes with the $20 a year package. But hey, if you have those kind of have children and you have those kinds of concerns, $20 a year really is a drop in the bucket. I mean, honestly, let's call it what it is. If you can't afford $20 a year to keep your kids safe and secure on the internet, you probably shouldn't be on the internet anyway. Just to put it bluntly. But the OpenDNS is what it is. So great service, great perimeter defense, but that's for personal use or even small business. If you are a larger corporation, you're going to look at things like Palo Alto's or what Cisco calls their umbrella service. So Cisco umbrella is the same as OpenDNS, but on some huge steroids, right? It's got way more menus and more customizable features that you can turn on and off, and very granular things that you can allow or disallow for your corporation. So I normally don't call companies out by name, but in this podcast I have, just because there are some services that are just better than others. But Barracuda makes a great service that competes with Cisco Umbrella. The Palo Alto firewalls have embedded security to them. Fortinet, which is a brand of firewall. There's a lot of cloud-based services. So if you just go out there and do a search on security as a service, right? You'll find a bunch of cloud-based services. You'll see a bunch of big, well-known companies that are offering different services. You certainly want to go out and check them out. Especially, again, if you're a medium-sized business, medium being 50 computers or more on the internet, you certainly don't want to hover around the free stuff too much. You've got a lot more data to lose, whether you know it or not. I can guarantee you, if you've got 50 computers, I can show you where there's stuff in your company I want to steal. So you certainly want to look at something more robust, like one of these security as a service companies, or the physical hardware, like not a Symantec, but a Palo Alto, or whatever, any one of those brands. But again, if you are a home-based user, I can't find anybody that compares to OpenDNS for free, hands down. And if you know of somebody that's better than OpenDNS, that's free, please send me an email to dave@dtig.net. I would absolutely love to hear about them, and I'll be happy to give you a shout out for bringing them to my attention. So by all means, if you know a free service better than OpenDNS, I want to hear about it. So there you go. We spent the last right about 35 minutes talking about, do you really need your antivirus? The answer is yes. But if it's the only thing you're using to protect yourself, the answer is you're wasting your time. So make sure that you take a layered approach. Take the time to put your plan in place. Make sure that you keep things updated, because if you put all this stuff in place, but you don't update the software, or the Windows and all the other pieces that can be updated throughout the course of the months and years, you might as well not do it again. You know what I mean? Because if you just have basic support or basic install and you don't ever update it, people progress, right? People get smarter, people adapt. If you're not letting your software update so that it gets smarter too, you're going to get left behind, and eventually your computer is going to get compromised. The same thing applies to your cell phone. Of all the things we talked about here, if you've heard, I've talked about apply your VPN to your cell phone. I've talked about apply OpenDNS to your cell phone. If I didn't say it, I certainly meant to say, apply your antivirus to your cell phones. Cell phones get viruses too, and don't tell me about your iPhone not being compromised, because I can show you plenty of iPhones that have been compromised via viruses and things like that. So there is antivirus, there is VPN, and there are DNS/perimeter type protections for all types of devices: your Apple devices, your Macs, your Android, your Windows Phone, your tablets, your iPads, your laptops, your Xbox, your 365s, your PlayStations. Everything can be compromised, and everything has an ability to be protected. You need to take the time to protect yourself and protect your data. Or, next thing you know, little Johnny down the street is going to be rolling in his new Benz all on your dime while you're trying to figure out, how did this happen? How did this happen? So, I am Dave the IT Guy. It is Wednesday night, right around 6:30 or so in the East. We're about ready to cut this thing short. I want to say thank you for jumping in. I want to give one more quick shout out to my Iranian fans, because, hey, without you, the world would be a better place. So, thanks for keeping it real. And for those of you that don't understand that, because I have been a professional hacker since 2009, I have often called out companies and countries who support the bad hackers, right? Iran, Russia, North Korea, and Syria. There's a few other countries in there, but Yemen. So you guys are the bad ones, right? You guys, your governments support bad people doing bad things to the rest of the world. And because of you, people like me are always going to be in demand, because we're going to work hard to stop people like you. And because I speak out and I call them out, by name like that, I find that my Dave the IT Guy blog and my Twitter feed and my new podcast, of which this is only the third episode, um, has a very full log of people from those countries trying to attack me, trying to either bring my sites down or compromise my accounts. Um, and they're certainly listening to my podcast because 14% of my first two episodes were downloaded or played in real time from the Republic of Iran. So, again, thank you guys in Iran for being the dredges of the world that you are. Now, I know that that's a bad statement. Not everybody in Iran is bad. Not everybody in North Korea and these other countries I said are bad. I do know that the people usually, by and large, are great. It's governments and militaries and the people leading them are what's really wrong with the world, and I understand that. And that's who I'm really aiming my comments at. But President Vladimir Putin, uh, you can say that you don't hack things, but we both know that you probably don't because you're not smart enough to do it, but we know you authorize people to do it. So, again, people like you is why people like me have a great career, and we're going to keep coming at you. So, you may not stop, but that's okay. We're going to keep trying to take you down, and that's frankly part of the fun. So thanks again. I am Dave TIT Guy. Next week, we'll be back at it again live at 6 p.m. in the East. Feel free to join us on the Spreaker.com website. You can search Dave the IT Guy. You can also go to dtig.net or just Google search Dave the IT Guy and listen live right from my website. There's a chat bar there. You can hit chat and ask questions. Just like tonight, I will answer questions in real time if you would like to ask some. Check out my Twitter feed at DTIG, CINCY, at DTIG Cincy. And each week I'll post up what my topic is going to be. That's all I've got. I'm out of breath. I'm tired. You people made me think, and I appreciate your participation. Thanks again to everyone for joining in. I hope I've offered you some information that helps keep your computer, your data safe, your family safe online. And if I haven't, please hit me up and ask me, hey, Dave, what about this? Can you comment on that? I'm happy to create my entire podcast based on requests of topics that people want to learn about, but they don't have the time or they don't really care to dig through all the silliness. They just want to know what's the important stuff of a topic. Hit me up. That's it. I'm out of here. Dave the IT Guy. Until next week. Thanks again. Good night.